Hello and welcome to JDStone Creations. My name is Johnny, and in this video I'm going to restore this lovely acoustic guitar, which as you can see is in lovely condition. Yes. The first main problem was the nut, which... well, the nut had cracked and there was a piece of paper keeping the string in. The strings were in such an odd configuration as well. All of the frets were knackered, there was lots of sticky bits on it. It was the muckiest guitar I've ever seen that was actually playable. The action, and the back, and you can see from all of these pictures, it was... Sorry, I just had to be quiet then because I love the sound of that tuning as you tune it down. Yeah, it's not in great condition and it needed sorting. So I'd been given the task to sort it. It took quite a while to remove the strings because I don't have a string winder. Yeah, there's not really much I can say here. Oh, apart from for this bit, yeah, one of the strings had been wrapped through the tuner, then round the outside, and then tied in a knot back on the inside. It's the weirdest combination of string windings I've ever seen. It took about 10 minutes to faff about. And then finally, once the strings were taken off, it was time to actually clean it. This is just done with a very, very simple degreaser. You don't need any complex tools to restore one of these things. Just screwdrivers, some decent cleaning implements, and you'll be good to go. Also, anytime you're removing screws, don't forget to put them in a safe place. With the screws in a safe place, it was time to undo them, and then make sure that the tuners come out nice and safely. Lovely and dirty. Yeah. That's both of them removed, and then it was time to keep cleaning. You'll be surprised at how much playable any guitar, or any musical instrument for that matter, heck, even in any computer component, it'll be easier to use and nicer to use once it's actually clean. So, headstock and neck were done, so time to get rid of some of the muck and gunk and dust and stuff off the body. I did a little trick here, just so you could see what was what, and essentially cleaned only half of it. Bearing in mind, this is just some Dettol cleaner. Look at the left side, the right side, and the left side. One's shiny, one's dull. Simple as that, really. Then it was time to attend to the frets. Now, the frets are the main contact point of the strings, so, you know, you want them to be in good condition, and crucially, you want the fretboard itself to be in good condition and as clean as possible, because of course that's really where your fingers are going to rest. Now at this point I was thinking, do you know, this muck is hiding quite a nice looking fretboard, until I found this out. You know, I just said that it had a nice fretboard. Yeah, it's nice on the face of it. Plywood. Yeah. I thought it was only me that was stupid enough to make something out of plywood. So, with the body and the neck all clean, it was time to then polish the frets, which sort of defeated the object of cleaning the fretboard in the first place, but hey, I went back and did that later. That was just with my little rotary Dremel. You can do exactly the same with a decent scouring pad and some polish, but this little Dremel just takes off most of the elbow grease and makes things, well, a heck of a lot easier. One thing I did end up doing is actually sanding the frets a little bit, because I noticed they weren't quite even anymore. So just to make them as flat as possible and as easy as possible to play. I think it was 400 grit sandpaper at this point, and then a little scuff over with 2000 just to polish them up a bit, and then back over with the polish. See the difference? Yeah, trust me, it's worth doing. And that's the difference it makes when all of them are done. And now we've got some 2000 grit sandpaper, quick scuff over, and then back over with the cleaning cloth. It's worth pointing out at this point that the backing track music that you can hear isn't actually mine. It's by Yellow Ribbon, whoever they are. And it comes with Wondershare Filmora, which is the video editing software I use. Go check it out, it's actually quite good. And of course, having just sanded and cleaned, I thought I'd go and polish again, just for good measure. Whee! Fast motion. Wish I could actually do it this quick and still do it efficiently. Then it was time to fix what was originally allegedly, the only problem that the guitar actually had, which was the nut. All it took was a little bit of super glue, a little bit of patience. Make sure where you're sticking it into it is as clean as possible and as flat as possible, and then stick it back in. Here we have the tuners. I'm quite sure you can tell which one's cleaner than the other. I think I actually cleaned the outside of one and then the inside of the other, which slightly confused things, but still. With the nut nice and secure in place, it was time to get on with cleaning the rest of it and reassembling it. I'm here again with a little rotary Dremel here. Not a real Dremel, just a cheap rotary tool. It's actually much better than a Dremel because it's about a quarter of the weight. I've got a wire brush on the end of it this time, and I even got to the point where I was then wire brushing the rust off the screws, because, well, you can't put rusty screws back into a nice shiny tuner, can you? Really? And then the same goes for the body, really. Surely you can't make everything nice and shiny, but then not give it a good polishing. So, here I am with my, I think it cost £12 or 15 or something. It's a fantastic thing. It's an 8-inch rotary dual action thingamabob thing, but whatever it is, it's an absolute godsend. Now you can see how, well, not shiny the side of the guitar is here, and how shiny it is on this side. I wasn't actually ready for that. I edited this about 2 weeks ago. And the same with the headstock. Obviously it's spent quite a lot of time upright, and there's your shiny side. Again, really, definitely worth doing. And then it was time for the obligatory dusting with a brush, because cloths and dusting things are actually useless. Paintbrushes are much better. Anyway, restringing time. This is actually one of the faffiest jobs I've ever done with anything. Now there is actually a knack to it. You need to start at one side. So you start by unravelling all the strings, which isn't a problem at all. No, definitely wasn't any problem with tangling. That never happened. So it's best to kind of like at least put some tightness through them, because then you can at least keep them in the same order. This is the tricky bit, because it's not just a basic string. You have that end, which is rigid, and you have the other, which is floppy. I think I've just said them the wrong way round, but either way, it's only on the 3 steel strings, and you need the floppy, as in the malleable end, to go at the bridge, because that's the one that you need to tie in a knot. The rigid one goes at the other end. Now, to sort your strings out, you need to wrap it back round itself, and then repeat that, except the second and third times, you need to loop it through itself as well as round the back. Once you've done that, hold it against the bridge, and then pull it tight. You'll know if you've done it right, because you end up with this rather lovely looking little knot. And crucially, you'll be able to pull it and pluck it, and there won't be any issues. So it's loop it round the back, hook it round itself twice, hold it against the bridge, pull it tight, and you're done. Then when it comes to the other strings, you leave the centre one, or you leave the, what I believe will be the 4th string, and then you need to twist the other ones the opposite direction to go to point towards the centre of the bridge. You will probably need about 3 attempts to do the steel string, because obviously it's about 5 times as thick and is made of steel. which means it's a lot harder to do. However, after about 5 minutes of faffing about, which I just edited out because why not, you'll have one of the strings done, and then you need to faff about with the others. Good thing is, because they get thinner, they get easier as well. Now at this point it starts to get a little confusing, because now the fourth string that you did then needs to tie, again, the same as the other three nylon strings, but you need to tuck that string back into the third string, essentially making all of the little ends sort of disappear. You don't get any random ends sticking out. And that's how it should look if you've done it in an average way. There's definitely ways of doing it better. So, now time to flip it around and bring it to the headstock. Now, to attach the strings at the headstock end into the tuners, orient all of the tuners into about 45-degree angle down towards the body of the guitar. Put the string through the little hole and then wrap it back round itself, and then tie a tiny little knot and pull it tight. Now when you're tuning it, make sure that the string is going over the top of it, not under it, over the top, like that. And then you can snip the end off. I will just say at this point, Connie, if you're watching, thank you for giving me this guitar for a couple of weeks, because it was a fantastic little learning exercise. Never worked on any guitar like this before, only electric ones and pianos and keyboards and stuff like that. It's surprising how different one of these things is and how far other instruments have come. So yeah, cheers. You can't just hide behind there and make noise. What? So, with the mandatory shouting at budgies done, it was time to tune it up. And this basically takes a long time, because every time you tune one string up, another one goes down, because of course the tension in the neck is completely changing. The strings are designed to do this, so, you know, you shouldn't have any snapping of strings anyway, not unless you've done something cataclysmically wrong. Yay! Oh. Oh. As you can see, it's a very easy job. Done! Oh, of course it wasn't done, because there was a little bit more polishing to do. But, heck, there's always a bit more polishing to do. And it's gone out of tune again. But it will do, the brand new strings. Every guitar does that. To a point. The only chord I know! Hey look, it's out of tune again. That sounded alright. No it didn't, Johnny. Shut up. Well, that certainly looks out of place there, doesn't it? So, I hope you enjoyed this. Now, it's worth saying I did actually lose this footage for quite a while. So I got the owner to send me over a couple of photos, and just to prove that it's actually still in good condition. So, hey, I did a good job. So, as always, subscribe and stuff. I'm always doing work on these random different projects, so I'll always have something in. As always, 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 always. Oh yeah, and stay creative. Always!